50 feet below the surface of Echo Lake, Georgia. A diver's helmet light slices through the black, silty water. October 2025. The side-scan sonar had painted a target. Something dense. Something that had no business being there. And then, through the green-black gloom, a shape resolved. A dark green Ford Explorer, buried in sediment, its roof caved in like a skull. The dive team's comms crackled. We have a vehicle. Tag is visible. And there's someone inside. Someone. For 27 years, this Explorer held a secret. A body. A truth that a killer thought they had drowned forever. Cut to July 22nd, 1998. A young woman named Leah Beaumont climbs into this exact vehicle, borrowing it from her mother for what should have been a simple drive. She's 19, bright, heading out to meet someone she trusted, someone who was now family. By morning, Leah is gone, vanished. The police closed the case in 3 days, labeling her a runaway. But Leah Beaumont didn't run. She was murdered, and the woman who pulled the trigger thought she'd gotten away with it. But before we dive into how that SUV ended up 50 feet underwater, you need to understand who put it there and why. If this is your first time here, we uncover the stories that were buried and the truths that were meant to be forgotten. Take a second to hit that subscribe button so you don't miss a single investigation. And drop a comment below. Tell me where you're watching from tonight. To understand what happened at Echo Lake that July night, you need to know who Leah Beaumont was. Not just a name on a faded poster, not just another statistic, a real person with a future that was stolen. Leah Simone Beaumont was 19 years old in 1998. She had her mother's sharp intellect and her late father's warm, easy smile. She was enrolled at Emory University in Atlanta, studying business, but her real life was at Beaumont's Southern Kitchen, the most beloved diner in Pinecrest, Georgia. The diner had been in their family since 1970. Her grandfather started it. Her father, David Beaumont, made it a local institution. And Leah was being groomed to inherit it all. Every summer and weekend, Leah was back in Pinecrest, working the floor. She wasn't just waitressing, she was learning. She'd be in the kitchen tasting the gravy, then at the front counter charming the regulars, then in the back office with her mother, learning the books. Old-timers would come in just to get a smile from Leah. She had that rare combination of grace and grit. The kind of young woman who could spend 20 minutes listening to Mr. Henderson's fishing stories and still have the entire lunch rush's orders memorized. Her mother, Simone Beaumont, had been running the diner solo since David died of a sudden stroke in 1995. At 47, widowed, left with 2 kids and a landmark business, Simone was a pillar of strength. But Leah made it easier. She stepped up, taking on more responsibility, helping her mother manage suppliers, payroll, and the endless stream of details. Simone wasn't just Leah's mother. She was her mentor. They'd share a pot of coffee every morning before the diner opened, talking about business, life, and dreams. Then there was Chloe, Leah's younger sister. 16 in 1998, a sharp-witted junior at Pinecrest High. If you asked Chloe who her hero was, she'd say, Leah, no question. Leah drove her to school, critiqued her boyfriends, and was the only person who could calm Chloe's teenage anxieties. In Chloe's world, Leah was the sun, bright, constant, and invincible. The Beaumont women had been through the fire after losing David, but they'd forged an unbreakable bond. And then there was Marcus. Marcus Beaumont was the oldest, 24 in 1998. He'd always been a little different from Leah and Chloe. Charming, but restless. More interested in finding an easy life than building one. After a few years of college, he'd dropped out, working odd jobs in Atlanta before returning to Pinecrest. In March 1998, Marcus married Vanessa Russo. Vanessa was 26, an Atlanta native. She was polished, articulate, and seemed to adore Marcus. She claimed she had a background in finance, working as an accounts manager for a logistics firm. Simone had her reservations. Vanessa's smile never quite reached her eyes. But Marcus was in love, or at least he said he was. Vanessa moved to Pinecrest after the wedding. Small-town life wasn't her style, but she played the part. She joined Simone's church, volunteered at the summer fair, and charmed the diner's regulars. And in April 1998, just a month after the wedding, Vanessa approached Simone with a proposal. The diner needed a modern bookkeeper, someone to handle the accounts, streamline payroll, and manage the finances. Vanessa had the experience. She could help. Simone was hesitant, but Marcus pushed. "She's family now, Mama. Let her help." So, Simone hired her. Vanessa Russo became the diner's financial manager. She had access to everything: the bank accounts, the vendor contracts, the daily cash-out records. For a while, things seemed fine. Vanessa was efficient. The books looked clean. Simone, busy running the front of the house, trusted her. Leah didn't. It was just a gut feeling. The way Vanessa deflected specific questions, the way certain supply invoices seemed slightly inflated. Small things, tiny inconsistencies that Leah started noticing in June 1998, right after she came home from Emory for the summer. But we'll get to that. Let's talk about Pinecrest. If you've never been to a small town in North Georgia, picture this. Population 4,100. One historic main street, one high school, and a diner that served as the town's living room. Friday night football was religion. Everybody knew everybody's business, your triumphs, your tragedies, your secrets. The Beaumonts were royalty in that town. Respected, loved. Echo Lake sat 3 miles outside of town, just off Highway 19. It wasn't massive, maybe a mile across, but it was deep, rumored to be bottomless in parts. Locals picnicked there, teenagers swam there. It was peaceful, quiet, until it became a tomb. Leah loved that lake. She'd learned to swim there with her dad. After David died, Leah would sometimes drive out to Echo Lake alone, sit on the tailgate of the Explorer, and just think. It was her spot, her sanctuary, which is exactly why Vanessa chose it. In July 1998, Leah Beaumont was days away from exposing Vanessa Russo's theft. She'd found the discrepancies in the diner's accounts, $52,000, siphoned off over 4 months through fake vendor invoices and skimmed cash deposits. Leah had the proof. She just needed to confront Vanessa first, privately. Give her a chance to explain. That's the kind of woman Leah was. Fair, loyal, even to the person who was robbing her family. On the night of July 22, 1998, Leah told her mother she was meeting someone to clear the air about a work issue. She seemed tense, her usual bright energy dimmed. Simone asked if everything was all right. Leah kissed her cheek. "I'll be back in an hour, Mama. Promise." She borrowed Simone's dark green Ford Explorer, drove off into the humid Georgia night, and never came home. July 22, 1998. A Wednesday. The kind of sweltering Georgia evening where the air is so thick you can drink it. The sun was setting over Pinecrest, painting the sky in shades of orange and bruised purple. Leah Beaumont had spent most of the day at the diner, working a double, but Simone noticed her daughter's mind was elsewhere. She kept checking her watch, her brow furrowed in thought. Around 7 p.m., Leah pulled Simone aside in the small, cramped office. "Mama, I need to talk to you about something. About the books. But not yet. I have to handle something first." Simone frowned. "Handle what, baby? Is everything okay?" "Just trust me. I'll explain everything tonight when I get back." That should have been a red flag, but Simone trusted Leah implicitly. She was responsible, level-headed. If she said she'd handle it, she would. What Simone didn't know was that Leah had spent the previous 2 weeks in that same office, long after the diner closed, poring over the financial records. Spreadsheets, bank statements, deposit slips. And she'd found it. $52,000. Gone. Fake invoices from a produce supplier that didn't exist. Inflated payroll hours. Cash deposits that were consistently short. $300 here, $500 there. But over 4 months, it added up. Vanessa Russo, her new sister-in-law, was bleeding the family business dry. Leah kept meticulous notes, printed copies of the fraudulent transactions, and highlighted every discrepancy. She wasn't guessing. She had proof. On July 21st, the day before she disappeared, Leah confronted Vanessa. It happened at the diner after closing. Simone had gone home. Chloe was at summer band practice. It was just Leah and Vanessa alone in the office. We don't know exactly what was said, but we know how it ended. Vanessa, a master, manipulator, broke down. I cried, claimed it was a mistake, that she had gambling debts, that she was scared and was going to pay it all back. Please, Leah, don't tell Simone. Don't tell Marcus. It will destroy him. Meet me tomorrow night, somewhere private. I'll bring the money I have left. I'll explain everything. We can fix this. Leah, ever the peacemaker, agreed. She wanted to believe Vanessa could be redeemed, that this was a terrible mistake, not a betrayal, because Vanessa was family, Marcus's wife, and Leah didn't want to destroy her brother's marriage if there was any other way. So, they set a meeting. July 22nd, 8:30 p.m. Echo Lake, the old boat launch. Private, quiet, away from town. Leah thought she was giving Vanessa a chance to come clean. Vanessa was planning to silence her permanently. Wednesday, July 22nd, 1998. 8:15 p.m. Leah kissed her mother goodbye and walked out the front door of their home on Sycamore Street. She climbed into Simone's dark green Ford Explorer, license plate GDK 477, and backed out of the driveway. Simone watched from the porch, waved. Leah waved back. That was the last time she ever saw her daughter alive. Leah drove south on Main Street, past the town square and the high school. She stopped at the Texaco on Highway 19 at 8:25 p.m. The attendant, a classmate named Bobby Greer, remembered her. She bought a bottle of water, paid cash, and seemed normal. Maybe a little stressed, he'd later recall, but nothing crazy. She drove off, heading north toward Echo Lake. Leah arrived at the boat launch around 8:40 p.m. Vanessa's car, a blue Toyota Camry, was already there, parked in the shadows. Vanessa stood beside it, arms crossed, waiting. Leah parked the Explorer and stepped out, carrying the binder of evidence. "Vanessa, let's talk," Leah said, her voice firm. Vanessa nodded. "Down by the water. It's too hot up here." They walked toward the lake shore, away from the gravel lot. The sun was gone, the air thick with the sound of cicadas. Leah opened the binder, her small flashlight illuminating the pages. "This is serious. You took over $50,000 from my family. I need to know why." Vanessa didn't answer at first. She just stared at the dark water. Then she said, "You shouldn't have looked, Leah. You should have just left it alone." Leah's stomach dropped. Something in Vanessa's voice, cold, flat. "Vanessa, I'm trying to help you. We can fix this. You pay it back. We will help you. Before what? Before you ruin my life? Before you tell Simone and she calls the cops? Before Marcus leaves me? This isn't about ruining you. You stole from us. I was going to pay it back." "With what money, Vanessa?" Silence. Leah shook her head. "I'm telling my mama tomorrow. You need to come clean tonight, or I will." That's when Vanessa pulled the gun. A .38 revolver. She'd stolen it from her father's house in Atlanta months ago. Leah's eyes went wide. "Vanessa, what are you doing?" I'm family. Put the gun down. We can..." "I'm sorry, Leah. I really am." One shot. The sound was deafening, swallowed instantly by the dense woods. Birds scattered. Leah staggered back, a look of pure shock on her face. She looked down at her chest, at the blood spreading across her white t-shirt. She dropped to her knees, gasping, trying to speak. Vanessa watched her fall, watched the light leave her eyes, and felt nothing. No remorse, no panic, just a cold, clean calculation. She dragged Leah's body to the Explorer, lifted her into the driver's seat. She wiped down the door handles, took the binder of evidence, and threw it deep into the woods. Then Vanessa got into the Explorer, started the engine, and drove it slowly onto the boat launch. She'd researched this spot. The ramp was slick with algae, the drop-off immediate. 50 feet down. No one ever swam in this part of the lake. Too many old, submerged trees. Vanessa put the Explorer in neutral, got out, and pushed. The heavy vehicle rolled forward. It hit the water with a sickening splash, nose first. For a moment, it floated. Then the front end dipped. Water poured in through the dashboard, the windows. The SUV sank quickly, bubbles rising to the surface like a final, silent plea. Within a minute, it was gone, swallowed by Echo Lake. Vanessa stood on the shore, breathing hard. She checked her watch. 9:52 p.m. She walked back to her Camry, climbed in, and drove home. When she arrived, Marcus was on the couch, watching a baseball game. "Where have you been?" he asked, not looking up. "I just needed to clear my head. Drove around for a bit." Marcus grunted. Vanessa kissed him on the forehead and went to take a shower. That night, she slept soundly. By 1 a.m., Simone Beaumont was wide awake, staring at the empty driveway. Leah had said an hour. It was now 4. She called Leah's friends. Nothing. She called the hospitals. Nothing. By 5 a.m., Simone's hands were shaking as she dialed the Pinecrest Police Department. "My daughter didn't come home last night. Her name is Leah Beaumont. She's 19. She took my Explorer and she's not home. Something's wrong. Please, you have to find her." The dispatcher took the report and said someone would be in touch. But they didn't really look. Because to the Pinecrest Police Department, Leah Beaumont was just another 19-year-old girl who'd probably run off with a boy. And runaway cases, they solve themselves. Except Leah didn't run. She was 50 feet underwater, less than 3 miles from her home, with a bullet in her chest. And the woman who put her there was about to spend the next 27 years pretending to be family. July 23rd, 1998. Morning. Simone Beaumont sat in the wood-paneled office of the Pinecrest Police Department, her hands gripping a worn purse. Her daughter had been missing for 12 hours. Sheriff Wes Calloway finally called her in at 10 a.m. Calloway was 58, a Pinecrest native, 30 years on the force. He'd seen his share of trouble, but in his mind, trouble was usually bar fights or kids speeding. Missing persons, especially young black women, often got filed under a different category in his mind. Simone sat across from him, her eyes red, her voice raw. "Sheriff, I'm telling you, something is wrong. Leah would not just leave. She's not like that." Calloway leaned back in his squeaking chair, arms crossed. "Now, Simone, I understand you're worried, but let's be realistic. Leah's 19. She's in college in Atlanta. She's got a whole life we don't know about. Did you two argue? Any tension at the diner?" "No. We were closer than ever. She took my Explorer. She said she'd be back in an hour." Calloway sighed, picking up a pen. "Ma'am, with all due respect, 19-year-old girls do this. They get stressed. They meet a new boy. They get wild hair and take off for a few days. She's probably down in Florida by now. She'll come home when she runs out of money." Simone's voice was sharp, desperate. "She's not like that. I am telling you, she's in danger." "We'll put out a bolo for your vehicle," Calloway said, his tone final and dismissive. "If an officer spots it, we'll let you know. But Simone, I've been doing this a long time. 9 times out of 10, these missing girls are just gone. They resolve themselves." Simone left the station feeling like she'd been punched, dismissed, like her daughter's life was an inconvenience. She drove straight to Marcus's apartment. Marcus answered the door, his eyes puffy. Vanessa stood right behind him, her hand on his arm, her face a perfect mask of concern. "Mama, what's happening? Where's Leah?" Marcus asked, his voice shaking. Simone's voice broke. I don't know. She didn't come home. Did she call you? Did she say anything?" Vanessa shook her head, her eyes wide with fake tears. "No, nothing. Oh my God, Simone." Where could she be? Marcus stepped forward. Mama, I'm sure she's okay. Leah's smart. She probably just needed some space. Simone turned to him. Space from what? I don't know, Marcus said, looking lost. Vanessa spoke up, her voice soft. She did seem a little stressed at the diner lately. Mentioned something about the summer workload. Maybe she just snapped. Simone frowned. Leah thrived on the work. She loved the diner. Something felt wrong, but her mind was spinning. Her daughter was missing. Nothing made sense. Marcus grabbed his mother's hands. We'll help you look. We'll drive around. Check her usual spots. She's fine, Mama. She has to be. But Marcus's voice trembled. He didn't believe his own words. July 24th, 1998. Simone filed a formal missing persons report, though she had to argue with the desk sergeant just to get the paperwork. She brought Leah's graduation photo, a detailed description of her, the explorer's license plate, a list of places she loved. Sheriff Calloway took the report, assured her they were looking into it. They weren't. No search parties were organized, no dive teams called, no helicopters. Echo Lake, less than 3 miles from where Leah was last seen, was never searched. Not even a cursory check of the shoreline. Why? Because in Calloway's mind, this was a voluntary disappearance. A black girl from the other side of town, even one as respected as Beaumont, who probably just ran off. Department resources were limited, he said. They couldn't justify a full-scale search for someone who chose to leave. Simone begged. At least check the lake. She loved that place. What if she had an accident? Calloway waved her off. Simone, if she'd driven into the lake, someone would have seen the tire tracks. Fishermen are there every day. We'd have reports. But no one had been fishing at Echo Lake that week. A summer heat wave had made the water stagnant and the bugs unbearable. Details like that didn't matter to Calloway. He'd already made up his mind. On July 25th, a deputy interviewed Vanessa and Marcus. Standard procedure. Vanessa, composed and grieving, answered every question. When did you last see Leah? At the diner, Wednesday afternoon. We were working on the new payroll system. How did she seem? Distracted, a little sad. I asked if she was okay, and she just smiled and said she was fine. But I got the sense something was bothering her. Any idea what? Vanessa paused, as if thinking. I don't know for sure, but Leah, she put so much pressure on herself. Emery, the diner, helping Simone. Maybe it was all just too much. Everything Vanessa said sounded reasonable, plausible. She was the concerned sister-in-law. There were no red flags, no contradictions. Vanessa left the station without a hint of suspicion. Because who suspects family? July 25th, 1998. 72 hours after Leah Beaumont disappeared. Sheriff Calloway officially suspended the active search. Classification: voluntary missing person. Simone received the news over the phone. We've done all we can, Simone. There's no evidence of foul play. Leah left on her own. She's an adult. She has the right to go wherever she wants. If she contacts you, let us know. Otherwise, there's nothing more we can do. Simone's world shattered. 3 days. That's all her daughter's life was worth to the Pinecrest police. 3 days of half-hearted inquiries. No forensic analysis of Leah's room. No phone records pulled. No financial audit of the diner. No interviews with her Emory classmates. No search of Echo Lake. Nothing. Leah Beaumont was written off as a runaway, a statistic, a closed file in a metal cabinet, and the woman who murdered her walked free. Before we go on, if this story is making your blood boil, hit that like button. It tells YouTube to share Leah's story with more people, people who need to understand that this is how justice fails. What time is it where you are? Drop it in the comments. 27 years. That's how long Simone Beaumont searched for her daughter. 9,855 days of not knowing, of waking up every morning with that same hollow ache, wondering if today would be the day. of going to bed every night praying for an answer, any answer. Most people would have given up. Most people would have been broken by the grief. Simone Beaumont was not most people. In the months after Leah disappeared, Simone did everything Sheriff Calloway wouldn't. She printed 5,000 missing person flyers. Leah's beautiful, smiling face stared out from every telephone pole, every grocery store bulletin board, every truck stop across Georgia, Alabama, and Florida. Missing. Leah Simone Beaumont. 19 years old. Last seen July 22nd, 1998. Simone drained her savings. She drove to Atlanta, Tallahassee, Montgomery, anywhere a young woman might go to start over. She walked into diners, bus stations, homeless shelters, showing Leah's photo. "Have you seen her? Please, she's my daughter." Dead ends. Every single time. Vanessa, for her part, played the role of the devastated sister-in-law perfectly. She helped Simone print the flyers. She sat with her in the diner, holding her hand, offering comfort. "We'll find her, Simone. I know we will." She even steered the narrative. "Maybe we should check the bus station in Atlanta again. I just have a feeling she went north." She directed their grief, their hope, their resources, anywhere and everywhere, except Echo Lake. Chloe Beaumont was 16 when her sister vanished. A high school junior, full of fire and plans. All of that was extinguished on July 23rd, 1998. Chloe stopped going to school. She stopped eating. She'd lie awake at night, staring at the ceiling, replaying her last conversation with Leah. It was a stupid fight about a borrowed CD. "See you later," Leah had called out. Chloe never saw her again. She was consumed by a survivor's guilt that felt like drowning. Why didn't I ask where she was going? Why didn't I tell her not to go? Therapy didn't help. What helped was rage. By the time Chloe turned 21, she'd channeled her grief into a single purpose. She became a local activist, a thorn in the side of the Pinecrest PD. She organized protests. She filed public records requests. She spoke at every town council meeting, her voice shaking but furious. "My sister was dismissed as a runaway in 72 hours. No search, no investigation, no justice. How many other black families in this town are living this nightmare because you failed them?" She made them remember Leah's name. Vanessa and Marcus's marriage crumbled. It was slow at first, then all at once. Marcus, racked with guilt over his sister's disappearance, started drinking. He also started asking questions. Questions about the diner's finances, which were suddenly in terrible shape. "I don't understand, Vanessa," he'd slur. "Leah was so good with the books. How are we suddenly broke?" In 2001, 3 years after Leah vanished, Marcus found a bank statement, a transfer of $10,000 to an offshore account, dated 2 days before Leah disappeared. He confronted Vanessa. The next morning, Marcus woke up to an empty apartment. Vanessa Russo was gone. No note, no forwarding address. Just gone. Marcus told Simone, "Mama, I think she stole from us. And I think she's run." Simone felt a chill, but she couldn't connect the dots. Not yet. Her mind was on Leah. A thieving daughter-in-law was one thing, a missing daughter was another. Then, in 2004, the email arrived. It came to the diner's old AOL account. The subject line, "I'm okay." The sender was an anonymous, encrypted address. The message was brief. "Mama, I'm okay. I just needed to get away. I have a new life now. Please stop looking for me. I'm sorry. L." Simone clung to that email like a life raft. It was proof. Leah was alive. She was safe. She just needed to escape. Chloe didn't buy it for a second. "Mama, that's not her. Leah would never do this. She wouldn't just get away. Someone made her." It created a rift between them. Simone wanted to believe Leah was alive. Chloe needed to believe she was murdered. Because if she was murdered, it meant there was someone to blame, someone to hunt. The years rolled on. The diner barely survived. Simone, now in her 60s, her hair gone white, her hands gnarled with arthritis, still worked the counter. But the light had gone out of her eyes. She kept Leah's room exactly as she'd left it. Her Emory textbooks are on the desk, her favorite dress in the closet. Every year on Leah's birthday, August 10th, Simone baked her favorite red velvet cake. She'd light a candle, sit at the kitchen table, and talk to her. "I'm still here, baby. I'm not giving up. Wherever you are, I'm going to find you." The breakthrough came in 2024. Simone was 73. Her health was failing. Her heart, broken for 27 years, was giving out. She was scrolling through Facebook, something Chloe had set up for her, when she saw a shared post from a group called Project Echo. They were a volunteer organization, amateur divers, sonar experts, all specializing in cold cases. Families who'd lost loved ones in cars, in lakes, in rivers. Places law enforcement never bothered to look. The post showed a car they'd just pulled from a river in Alabama. A man missing since 2002. Finally found. Finally home. Simone's breath caught. Echo Lake. She'd asked Sheriff Calloway to search the lake in 1998. He'd refused. Said it wasn't necessary. Said someone would have seen the car. But what if he was wrong? Simone's hands trembled as she typed out a message to Project Echo. Subject: Cold case. Leah Beaumont. Missing since 1998. My name is Simone Beaumont. My daughter Leah disappeared on July 22, 1998, from Pinecrest, Georgia. She was 19. She borrowed my Ford Explorer and never came home. The police closed her case in 3 days. They called her a runaway. But I know my daughter. She didn't run. There's a lake here. Echo Lake. I've always had this feeling. No one ever searched it. Please. If there's any chance you can help. I'm begging you. I'm 73 years old. I just need to bring my baby home. She hit send, and she waited. 2 days later, a reply came from the Project Echo team leader. Mrs. Beaumont, thank you for reaching out. We've reviewed your daughter's case, and we'd like to help. Our team will be in Georgia in October 2025. We'll bring our sonar equipment. We will search Echo Lake, free of charge. Every family deserves answers. Simone dropped her phone, her hands covering her mouth as she sobbed. After 27 years, someone finally believed her. October 14th, 2025. A white Ram 3500 with Project Echo decals rolled into Pinecrest, Georgia, towing a 22-foot boat loaded with high-tech sonar gear. The team leader was a man named Ken, 45 years old, a former search and rescue diver. He'd started Project Echo after his own sister's case went cold. He knew what it meant to wait. Ken met Simone and Chloe at the Echo Lake boat launch at 8:00 a.m. Simone looked frail, 73 years old, leaning heavily on a cane, her face etched with 27 years of grief. But her eyes were steel. "Thank you for coming," she said, her voice thick. Ken shook her hand. "We're going to do everything we can, Mrs. Beaumont. No promises, but we'll search every inch of this lake." Chloe stood beside her mother, her arm around Simone's shoulders. At 43, Chloe had spent most of her life fighting for this moment. This was it. The last chance. Ken's team launched the boat. The sonar equipment hummed to life, technology that could map the lakebed with impossible detail. "We'll start at the launch and work our way out in a grid," Ken explained. "If there's a vehicle down there, we'll find it." Simone nodded, her throat too tight to speak. The boat launched. The search began. Day 1, nothing. The sonar picked up submerged trees, 55-gallon drums, and a sunken fishing boat. But no explorer. Simone sat in a folding chair on the shore, watching the boat move back and forth, waiting, praying. Chloe brought her water, a sandwich she couldn't eat. "Mama, you need to rest." "I'm not leaving." Day 2. Still nothing. The team expanded the grid, scanning the deeper, murkier sections of the lake. Ken remained optimistic, but Simone could see the doubt. What if the explorer wasn't here? What if her gut feeling, her 27-year-old instinct, had been wrong? Chloe tried to prepare her. "Mama, even if they don't find anything, we tried. We did more than the police ever did." Simone didn't answer. She just stared at the water, willing it to give up its dead. Day 3, October 16th, 2025. The team launched at 7 o'clock a.m. The air was crisp, the lake like glass. Ken was scanning a section about 300 yards from the boat launch, a steep drop-off. At 11:52 a.m., the sonar screen lit up. A large rectangular mass, 50 feet down. Ken's pulse jumped. He repositioned the boat, ran the scan again. There, unmistakable, a vehicle. He keyed his radio to the shore team. "We've got a target." Simone stood up, gripping her cane so hard her knuckles were white. "What? What is it?" Ken's voice crackled over the radio. "Possible vehicle. We're sending a diver down to confirm." Chloe grabbed her mother, steadying her. "Mama, breathe. Just breathe." But Simone couldn't breathe. Her whole body was shaking. Ken's lead diver, a woman named Maria, suited up. She'd done this 100 times. She strapped on her tank, checked her regulator, and attached a high-definition camera to her helmet. The camera fed a live image to a monitor on the boat. "Going down," she said, and rolled backward into the water. 50 feet is a long way down in the dark. The light vanished. Maria's headlamp cut a narrow green beam through the silt. She descended slowly, following the sonar coordinates. And then she saw it. Metal, covered in rust and sediment, but unmistakably a vehicle. Maria's voice came through the comms, steady but tense. "Confirmed. It's a vehicle. SUV, moving closer." On shore, Simone collapsed into her chair. Chloe knelt beside her, holding her hand, both of them crying. Maria swam toward the explorer. The front end was buried in the mud. The roof was caved in. She brushed away 27 years of algae from the back window. The camera captured it. A Georgia license plate. Faded, corroded, but legible. GDK 477, Simone's Explorer. Maria's voice cracked. "License plate confirmed. This is the vehicle." On shore, Simone let out a sound, a wail that was 27 years in the making. Chloe held her, tears streaming down her own face. Ken's voice was gentle. "Maria, check the interior." "Copy." Maria swam to the driver's side. The window was gone. She shined her light inside, and there, in the driver's seat, was what was left of Leah Beaumont. A skeletal figure, still buckled in. Bones collapsed forward, the tattered remains of a t-shirt. Maria had seen this before, but it never got easier. This was someone's daughter, someone's sister. "Ken," she said, her voice quiet. "We have remains. Driver's seat." Silence on the radio, then Ken's voice, firm. "Copy. Surface. We're calling it in." Within an hour, Echo Lake was a different scene. The new Pinecrest sheriff, a woman named Elena Rosas, arrived first. She was 42, had taken the job 3 years earlier after a career with the Atlanta PD. She knew all about the Leah Beaumont case. It was the town's shame, the cold case that was never investigated. Rosas took one look at the scene and immediately called the Georgia Bureau of Investigation. "This isn't just a recovery," she told her deputies. "This is a homicide investigation." GBI cordoned off the area. Yellow tape. Dive teams from the state took over the recovery. Simone and Chloe were escorted to a command tent. A victim's advocate sat with them, explaining what would happen. "We're going to recover the vehicle and your daughter's remains. We will handle everything with the utmost respect. The medical examiner will conduct an autopsy to determine the cause of death." Simone nodded, numb. Sheriff Rosas knelt in front of her. "Mrs. Beaumont, I know there are no words, but I need you to know we are treating this as a criminal investigation. If someone did this to Leah, we are going to find them." Simone looked up, her eyes hollow. I know who did it. Rosa's frowned. What? Vanessa Russo, my son's ex-wife. She was stealing from us. Leah found out. And then Leah, and then Vanessa. They both disappeared. Rosa's exchanged a look with the GBI agent standing nearby. We will look into everything, Mrs. Beaumont. I promise you. By evening, news crews were descending on Pinecrest. Cold case breakthrough. Missing teen found in lake after 27 years. The story exploded. Leah Beaumont's name, forgotten by everyone but her family, was suddenly everywhere. The community was in shock. People who remembered Leah, who remembered the beautiful girl from the diner, gathered at the lake, leaving flowers, candles. We're so sorry, Simone. Justice for Leah. But it wasn't just grief. It was a shame, because everyone knew the truth. The police had failed her. The town had failed her, and a killer had walked free. This is where the case stops being a tragedy and becomes a manhunt. If you want to see how investigators track down a killer who thought she was safe for nearly 3 decades, stay right here and share this video. Someone you know needs to hear this story. What's the weather like where you are today? The recovery of Leah Beaumont's body was a slow, meticulous, 8-hour operation. Divers carefully extracted the remains and brought them to shore. Simone insisted on being there. She stood at the water's edge, Chloe holding her up as they carried her daughter out of Echo Lake. After 27 years, Leah Beaumont was finally coming home. But the investigation was just getting started. October 17th, 2025. The GBI Crime Lab in Atlanta received the remains of Leah Beaumont, along with every piece of evidence salvaged from the submerged Ford Explorer. Dr. Kenji Tanaka, the state's chief medical examiner, had seen cases like this before. Skeletons submerged for decades. He and his team worked slowly. The bones were fragile. The waterlogged scraps of clothing disintegrated on contact. But Dr. Tanaka found it. Lodged in the thoracic vertebrae, a small deformed piece of lead. The preliminary findings came within 48 hours. Cause of death: gunshot wound to the chest. A .38 caliber bullet had entered her sternum, shattered her heart, and stopped in her spine. Dr. Tanaka called Sheriff Rosas personally. Elena, this wasn't an accident. This wasn't suicide. Someone shot this 19-year-old girl and put her in that lake. Rosas's jaw tightened. I need everything you've got, Kenji. You'll have it. The Explorer was taken to a secure GBI garage, where a forensic team began to peel it apart. 27 years underwater had destroyed most of the evidence. No fingerprints, no DNA. The interior was a swamp of mud and rust, but they found something. In the silt on the driver's side floor, a small, laminated object. A class schedule from Emory University, fall 1998. And something else. Wedged deep in the corroded seat track mechanism was a single, fake, acrylic fingernail, painted bright red. It was a long shot, but they bagged it. GBI Special Agent Miles Vance took the lead. Vance was 49, 25 years with the GBI, a cold case specialist. He started by pulling the original 1998 case file on Leah Beaumont. What he found made his blood boil. 3 days, 2 interviews, no searches, no follow-up. Sheriff Wes Calloway, long since retired and living in Florida, had buried this case. Vance started with the family. He sat with Simone and Chloe at their home, in the same living room where Simone had waited for Leah to come home 27 years ago. Mrs. Beaumont, I need you to tell me about Vanessa Russo. Simone's hands trembled. She was my son's wife. She started working at the diner, handling the books. Leah was home from college. She was so smart. She started noticing things. Money was missing. Did you tell the police this in 1998? Vance asked gently. Simone's voice broke. I tried. I told Sheriff Calloway something was wrong, that Leah was worried about work. He dismissed me. He said I was an overreacting mother. He said, Chloe spoke up, her voice sharp with anger. He said she ran off. He didn't care. He didn't want to care. Tell me about Marcus, Vance said. My son, Simone sighed. He was broken. After Leah. And then Vanessa. She left him in 2001. Just vanished. Took what was left in their bank account and disappeared. He never recovered. He passed away. 2011. His heart just gave out. Did Vanessa ever contact you after she left? No, Chloe said. Not directly. But in 2004, Mama got an email from a fake account. Said it was Leah. Said she was okay and to stop looking. Mama believed it for a while. I never did. I knew it was her. I knew it was Vanessa trying to make us stop. Vance's eyes narrowed. You still have that email? I've kept everything. The 2004 email was the first key. It was sent from an encrypted server, but the GBI's cyber forensics unit was good. They peeled back the layers. The email's origin was bounced, but the digital fingerprint of the message itself was created on a machine running a very specific, now obsolete software. And the IP address, though masked, had one single point of origin before it hit the encryption servers. A public library in Scottsdale, Arizona. Vance had a location. Scottsdale. He ran a search. Vanessa Russo. Nothing. Then he ran her finances. Her bank accounts were closed in 2001. Her credit cards were maxed out and written off. Her social security number had gone dormant. Vanessa Russo had ceased to exist. So Vance started digging into her new husband. Marcus Beaumont. He pulled their 1998 marriage license. And there it was. Vanessa Russo's social security number. Vance ran it through the national database. It had, in fact, been used. Once. In 2002, a woman named Jennifer Clark had applied for a social security card in Scottsdale, Arizona. She'd claimed her old one was lost. She used a fake birth certificate, but a real social security number, Vanessa's. It was a rookie mistake, but in 2002, nobody was checking that closely. Jennifer Clark was born. Vance pulled the Arizona MVD photo for Jennifer Clark, and there she was. 23 years older, blonde highlights, but the same cold eyes. Vanessa. He ran the name Jennifer Clark, and the case broke wide open. Jennifer Clark was a successful real estate agent in Scottsdale, lived in a $2 million home, drove a new Mercedes, remarried. She was, by all accounts, a pillar of the community. Vance issued a federal warrant for Jennifer Clark's arrest. Charges: first-degree murder. October 25, 2025. Scottsdale, Arizona. GBI agents, working with local police, ran surveillance on a pristine, stucco mansion. At 8:15 a.m., a woman matching Vanessa's description came out, carrying a yoga mat, and got into a white Mercedes G-Wagon. They pulled her over 2 blocks from her house. Jennifer Clark? Yes. Officer, is there a problem? Ma'am, step out of the vehicle. Vanessa Russo, Agent Vance said, stepping up to the car. You're under arrest for the murder of Leah Beaumont. The color drained from her face. The mask she had worn for 27 years didn't just crack. It shattered. I don't know who you're talking about. We found her, Vanessa. We found the car. She didn't resist, didn't say another word. By noon, the news was national. Arizona realtor arrested for 1998. Georgia cold case murder. Simone Beaumont got the call from Sheriff Rosas. We got her, Simone. She's in custody. Simone collapsed, sobbing. 27 years. 27 years of waiting, of praying, of fighting. Justice was finally here. October 30th, 2025. Vanessa Russo, now 53, was extradited to Georgia. She was flown on a federal transport and delivered to the Pinecrest jail. News crews swarmed. As she was led from the van in shackles and an orange jumpsuit, her head down, a figure broke from the crowd. It was Chloe. You killed her, she screamed, her voice raw with 27 years of rage. "You killed my sister! Look at me! Look at me!" Vanessa flinched, but she never looked up. She hurried inside. Inside the interrogation room, Agent Vance sat across from her. Her expensive lawyer was on speakerphone from Atlanta, advising her to say nothing. "I want my lawyer," Vanessa whispered, her voice hoarse. "He's on his way," Vance said. "But while we wait, I want to show you something." He slid a photo across the table. Leah Beaumont's 19-year-old graduation picture. Bright, beautiful, smiling. "You killed her for $52,000. Vanessa stared at the photo. "She was 19, your husband's sister. She trusted you, and you shot her, and put her in a lake, and let her mother grieve for 27 years. Vanessa's hands, still perfectly manicured, started to shake. "We found this too." Vance placed a small evidence bag on the table. Inside, the single red acrylic nail. "Found in the seat. Track. I'm guessing it popped off while you were pushing her body over. We'll get a DNA match, of course. But you and I both know it's yours. You wore red nails to your booking too." Vanessa looked down at her hands, and for the first time, she broke. A cold, dry sob. The trial of Vanessa Russo began on March 10th, 2026. It was the biggest trial in Pinecrest history. The prosecution, led by the GBI, laid out an ironclad case. The financial records showing the $52,000 theft, the .38 caliber bullet pulled from Leah's spine, the 2004 email traced to the library in Scottsdale, the fake identity, and, most damning, the red acrylic nail. DNA testing confirmed it belonged to Vanessa. The defense argued it was all circumstantial, but the most powerful testimony came from Simone Beaumont. She took the stand, frail but radiating strength. She spoke for 2 hours, telling the jury not about the evidence, but about her daughter, about her laugh, about her dreams of running the diner. For about 27 years, she sat by the window, waiting for a car that would never come home. "She took my daughter," Simone said, her voice shaking but strong, looking directly at Vanessa. "She stole her life, and she stole mine. She let me believe my baby had run away. She let me think my own child had abandoned me. There is no punishment for that. But for killing her, for that, there must be justice." The jury deliberated for 45 minutes. In the matter of the state of Georgia versus Vanessa Russo, on the charge of first-degree murder, the courtroom was silent. Simone and Chloe held hands, their eyes closed. "We the jury find the defendant guilty." A roar went up in the courtroom. Simone and Chloe collapsed into each other's arms, sobbing. Vanessa, 53 years old, dressed in a power suit, showed no emotion. She just stared straight ahead. At sentencing, the judge was scathing. "You did not just commit murder. You committed a 27-year-long act of pure calculated cruelty. You murdered a 19-year-old girl to cover up your theft, and then you tormented her family. You lived a life of luxury while they lived a life of grief." He sentenced her to life in prison without the possibility of parole. Outside the courthouse, Simone Beaumont stood at the microphones, flanked by Chloe and Sheriff Rosas. A reporter asked, "Simone, how do you feel?" Simone looked up at the sky, the sun bright on her face. "I feel," she said, her voice quiet but clear, "like my daughter can finally rest. And so can I." The case of Leah Beaumont changed Pinecrest. Sheriff Calloway, living in Florida, was charged with criminal negligence, though the charges were later dropped due to his failing health. The Pinecrest PD was completely reorganized by Sheriff Rosas, with new protocols for missing persons cases, all named Leah's Law. Beaumont's Southern Kitchen, which had been failing, was suddenly full. People came from all over the state to support the family. Chloe, now 43, took over the diner, hanging a large, beautiful portrait of Leah over the counter. The green Ford Explorer was never repaired. It sits in a GBI evidence lot, a silent testament to the crime. But Leah Beaumont is finally home. In 2026, a scholarship fund was established in her name at Emory University for young black women in business. Her story isn't just about a cold case. It's about a mother who never gave up. It's about a community that finally had to face its failures. And it's about a truth that, no matter how deep you bury it, will always, always find its way to the surface.